Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I just wanted to share with you guys the long-awaited tutorial for the B6 size traveler's notebook, or at least the way that I do it. I'm one of those crafters who kind of just start making something and just figure it out. So I will try my best to walk you through the steps that I use and give you the measurements that I use. But I'm not one of those ones that are very particular and precise. So if that's the type of tutorial that you like, I'm sorry. I hope you still watch it, but I'm not like 100% precise with all of my stuff. And you'll see that here in just a minute. Or two. So all I'm doing right here is going through this paper collection that I received from my scrapbookingstore.com monthly kit for June. It is a mermaid theme, as you guys can see, and I'm just deciding which ones do I want to be my cover, my inserts, my folder, and etc. And I finally decide on this piece right here, which in this paper collection is an authentic paper collection, in case you guys were curious. And I'm just trimming off that bottom piece there, so that I have a good start to my score. And what I like to do is I like to score one line, trim it, score one line, trim it. So what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to score 7 1/4 long ways. And then I trim, and then I score again at 11 1/4 the other way, making the outside notebook. And then I'm going to trim that off, and then I'm going to make my 3 score lines, which is going to be the binding ultimately of this traveler's notebook. So you're going to score at 5 1/8, 5 5/8, and 6 1/8. And these will be the binding part of the outside cover, as you're going to see here in just one moment. And I really make sure that my lines are nice and hard and strong there, because we are going to be laminating this. And so the outside cover is done, and I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm just going to decide which ones are going to be the outside covers to my 3 insert notebooks that are going to go inside the traveler's notebook. And I have figured it out, and you're going to see here in just one second me trimming all the edges to that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to score your pages 7 inches long and then 10 inches wide, is going to be the score marks, or the lines, the size of the outside of your traveler's notebook. And I'm scoring every single one of these at 7. I trim them all, and then I'll go back and score them all at 10 long ways, and then I'll trim that all up, as you guys can see here. And as a matter of fact, I messed this little gal mermaid up. I had turned my page, and I shouldn't have done that. So I set her aside, and I pick out another paper to use as the outside of my traveler's notebook. And the reason why I did that is because I ultimately saved that little mermaid girl, and I use her for the dashboard instead. And you'll see that as the video progresses. So see, it's very important to pay attention to the way that your designer paper is sitting on your scoreboard, because if you cut it wrong, then you've messed up that sheet of paper, and you'll have to pick a new sheet. So here we are going, this is the piece that I scored in replacement of that little mermaid to the side there. And I fix her, and then what you're going to do now is you're going to make sure all your, outside notebook inserts are 7 by 10, and then you're going to score those guys at right in the middle at 5. And then you're going to fold them over, make sure your line is nice, because again, these are going to be laminated. You don't have to laminate these notebooks, the outside covers of these notebooks, but you definitely can. You're going to see me do it here in this video. And then you're going to see me working on fixing this little mermaid girl right here to create a dashboard for this, because I didn't want to ruin the paper. So I am trimming her up and playing around with it, because I didn't have the exact measurements for this dashboard. So I'm just trying to fix her and create it to where it'll work for this traveler's notebook. And the dashboard ends up measuring 4 3/4 long, or wide, by 7, if you're interested in making one of those. Of course, traveler's notebooks don't have to come with dashboards, but I, of course, didn't want to waste this piece of paper, so I ultimately made it work in this case. And again, like I said, and I'm going to laminate this dashboard as well, but the insert covers, you don't necessarily have to. Sometimes I do laminate them and sometimes I don't. And the reason why is because if I have been journaling inside the pages to the notebook, to the insert, then I like to hand sew my signatures together and put it in a shoebox and keep it. But in this case, because I'll be giving this traveler's notebook away, I went ahead and laminated the covers as well. And you're going to see me start laminating these guys. I think lamination's pretty self-explanatory. I usually get the Scotch brand laminating sheets that come in a variety of different sizes, and you just want to make sure that's nice and flat. You don't get any like dust balls or hair or whatever inside the little pouch, and then you just kind of laminate it, and then you'll set them aside there, of course. And it doesn't take very long to laminate, as you guys can see here. And again, like I've said before, I am not the crafter that will be really particular and precise about things. I kind of just craft, and whatever comes out, comes out. That's just part of the way that I create things. But by all means, you can do and make your traveler's notebooks however which way that you want to. And I wanted to mention one thing, that if you wanted your pages rounded, then you need to round your pages before you put it in the laminator. And so I go ahead and laminate those things, and then I decided that I wanted to make a folder for this as well. So your folder will need to be 10 by 10, and then you see me just trim that up. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to score a line that's 3 inches from the bottom. So you just take that, and then you're going to fold that up, and then you're going to score it directly in half as well at 5, and then you're just going to fold that over and get a nice strong line. You see me using my bone folder for this because it's a little bit thicker. And then I decide that I want the inside pocket of this thing to have a funny angle to it. And so if I was newly making one of these folders and I didn't want to waste my paper, I would not do this step. I would just make the folder the way that it's made to be. But I just wanted the pockets to look a little fancy, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just playing around with this piece of paper because ultimately I'm one of those people that don't care to mess up, and I would have, if it wouldn't have looked okay or I wouldn't have liked it, I would have just got a different piece of paper and did it again. So I am trimming that out, and then I cut it by hand on the other side to make it match. And then you see me trimming up that bottom piece there by hand with my scissor, and then I'm going to just laminate it just like that. And I will share with you guys how I cut them pockets out. A lot of folks don't laminate their folders because they want the pockets to be functioning, and they glue the pockets. But I just find that for me, I just like everything to be laminated. I want everything to be laminated or nothing to be laminated. I want it all to match. So I am just running that through the laminator. And you're going to see here in a minute that I'm going to turn my laminator off, and I'm going to start trimming up all of the outside edges to my excess plastic from the laminator pockets. I'm just going to trim that all up nice and neat, and then I'm going to show you how I cut them pockets out so that they're functionable. And I just keep trimming. I tried to go through and try to maybe round those corners up on this folder just because I like the way it sits better inside the notebook itself, but ultimately I used my 123 punch board, and it just doesn't go through plastic as well as I would like it to. So that's why I say if you guys really want your corners rounded, I would most definitely do that prior to lamination, so it looks a little bit more rounded. I just went around the edges of that folder by hand. And so what I'm doing here is just taking some graph paper and I'm cutting it down to size, and scoring this so I can trim it up to make them fit inside those inserts. And your pages will need to be 7 inches long by 9 inches wide, and then you will score that in the center at 4.5, and it should fold over nicely and fit real well inside the insert cover. And I tend to use about 10 sheets, so it ends up being about 20 sheets once it's folded in half. And I do 2 sets of graph paper because I personally prefer graph paper to write on, and then 1 plain white paper. But you could use lined paper, you could print a weekly calendar and size it to fit inside one of those if you wanted. And so here I'm just using my flat edge little ruler, and I am gently pushing down and cutting through that first layer of plastic. And you see there that you want a gentle hand when you do that because you don't want to cut all the way through. But it's really simple to cut that, no problem. So here I am just going to use my hole punch, and I'm going to punch 3 holes at the binding on both the top and the bottom. And I do this not precisely. I do it by eyeballing, as I do every single thing that I do. I don't measure things out to be perfect, but you most certainly can figure that math out in your head, and cut that. Just keep in mind that you don't want the holes to be so close together that they run into each other. And then I also put a hole in the center of the back side of the cover. So you don't want it to be in the front, you want it to be on the back. And then I'm just going to go through, and I like to use eyelets because it just makes the notebook a little bit more sturdy. So I'm going through and just setting eyelets in all of those holes that I just punched. And then you're going to see me weaving through this elastic, and you're just going to start at one corner, go up to the top. You're going to weave it back in the very next hole, go down to the bottom, weave it in the next hole, go back up to the top. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to weave the last string back through the center on both ends, and then that way it'll connect back into the center of the traveler's notebook, creating a 4th band for you to use inside your notebook. And that's just what I'm showing you here. I'm just showing you that you're going to go with the flow. You're going with the flow at creating that. And so as you can see right here, I am taking that elastic and I'm going back in to the center of it. So it looks more like a book binding when you get done. There's no spaces between the first eyelet. It doesn't look like there's any space between the elastic through the first eyelet and the last eyelet, if that makes any sense. And then once you get, the struggle is real here getting this elastic through these eyelets. So then you're going to, tie it in the center. And like I said, that creates a 4th band that you can use inside the traveler's notebook, just like that. And then I'm just going through and deciding which ones I want to put where, as you guys can see there. And I'm just taking the pages and inserting them in the center of that. I will insert my folder here in just 1 second. And then I'm going to start working on using some more elastic on the back side of that notebook. So cute. I love that little dashboard. So I'm going to just take a piece of elastic. You want both ends to go through that eyelet from the back, and you're going to tie it in a knot on the inside of the traveler's notebook. Just keep in mind here that you want this elastic, once you see me get it through here and tie the knot, it goes around your notebook to keep everything nice and tight. So the object here is to make sure that your string is not too loose, like it is right there in the beginning of it. I had it way too loose, and so I'm just playing with it, pulling it tighter. I want to make it fit snug, but I don't want to make it be able to not have any growth to it if I chose to put more things in there. Also, you don't want it to be so loose that if you do put things in there, your stuff's gonna fall out. So then I just attach this little blue flower, and I'm just one of those people who like simplicity in the things. I like them to be functional, and that's just the way that I roll. So then you're gonna see me just start to decorate. That's the little dashboard. And again, I put those clear plastic pockets on both the dashboard and the front cover of that. I just added some ephemera. And that's about it, guys. I hope this helps. I hope you liked this video. And if you want to have a chance to win it, then put mermaid in the comment box. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.